I want you to imagine this. A clear sky, a quiet desert, the kind of day where silence feels heavy, almost sacred. And then, out of nowhere, a shadow cuts across the sand. A shadow not cast by clouds or birds, but by a machine. A drone. Slick, silent, watching, waiting. For years, drones have been the eyes and ears of modern warfare. They hover above landscapes thousands of miles away, piloted by hands that never touch them. And from these machines, missiles can be fired, without a soldier ever stepping onto the battlefield. But one day, something happened that no one was prepared for. A day when the roles were reversed. When the very guardians of war became vulnerable. When hackers took control of a military drone. It began quietly. No alarms. No sirens. Just a few lines of code slipping through the cracks of one of the most secure defense systems in the world. Military officials would later describe it as a blind spot. But to hackers, it was an open door. The drone in question was flying a routine surveillance mission overseas. Its cameras scanned roads, villages, mountains. To the soldiers watching from a control room back in America, everything looked normal. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the drone started to drift. At first, the operators thought it was just a glitch. These things happen. Machines aren't perfect. But then, commands sent from the control station weren't being followed. Left became right. Up became down. The drone wasn't listening. Someone else was in control. This wasn't science fiction. It wasn't the plot of some futuristic movie. It was real. And it exposed something terrifying. Even the strongest armies in the world can be disarmed not by weapons but by keyboards. Cybersecurity experts later pieced together what happened. The hackers had used a technique so simple, so audacious, it almost sounded like a prank. They intercepted the drone's video feed. Not encrypted. Not protected. Just open. Imagine that. Billions spent on hardware, but the signal itself, unguarded. The hackers could see everything the drone saw. Every angle. Every movement. And eventually, they slipped further inside. Enough to manipulate its path. Enough to send a message, "We are watching you too." There's something unsettling about this, isn't there? Because we often think of power as something you can see. A tank rolling across a street. A jet roaring through the sky. But this was invisible. Silent. Power hidden inside wires and screens. A professor of cyber warfare once put it this way. War used to be about territory. Now it's about access. And if you control access, you control everything. For the soldiers in that control room, it must have felt like a nightmare. Imagine staring at a machine you thought belonged to you, only to realize it was slipping away like a wild animal breaking free from its leash. What if the hackers had decided to use the drone's weapons? What if they had fired missiles not at enemy targets but at civilians, or even back at the base itself? Those questions lingered, heavy and unanswered. The truth is, no one knew exactly how far the hackers could go. And that uncertainty, more than anything, was the weapon. Eventually the drone was brought down. Some say it was forced to land. Others believe it simply crashed. Officials, as they often do, kept the details vague. But the damage had already been done. Not to the drone, but to trust. To the illusion of control. For years, militaries have operated under a dangerous belief that technology would always give them the upper hand. Drones could see farther, fly longer, strike faster. But on that day in the quiet desert, someone showed that even the mightiest machine is only as strong as its weakest line of code. And here's the part that stays with me. The hackers didn't need bombs. They didn't need guns. They didn't even need to be anywhere near the battlefield. All they needed was patience, knowledge, and the will to test the limits of a system that was never meant to be challenged. It makes you wonder, how many other cracks are out there? How many other machines, drones, planes, even power grids, are quietly exposed, waiting for someone to notice? Because if a single drone can be hijacked, what else can be taken? Some people shrugged it off. They said, it was just one incident. A fluke. Nothing more. But others, those who understood the shadows of cyber warfare, saw it differently. They saw it as a glimpse of the future. A future where wars may not be fought with boots on the ground, but with invisible battles across the internet. A future where an entire army could be paralyzed by a single hacker sitting in a dimly lit room. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Because how do you defend against something you can't see? When I first heard this story, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not just about the drone or the hackers or the soldiers in that control room, but about what it means for all of us. We live in a world that runs on invisible threads. Banking systems, air traffic control, hospitals, all stitched together by networks we barely understand. And yet, all of it can be tugged, unraveled, exposed. The day hackers took over a military drone wasn't just about one machine in the sky. It was a warning. A reminder that even the most advanced technology can fall victim to the simplest oversight. And maybe, just maybe, it forces us to ask a bigger question. If the guardians of war can lose control of their own machines, what does that mean for the rest of us? If you found this story thought-provoking, if it made you see the unseen forces shaping our world, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because here we tell the stories that aren't always told, the ones that make us stop and think and feel. The desert is quiet again now. The drone is gone. But the shadow it left behind still lingers. And maybe in that shadow lies the future of war itself. If you want more stories like this, stories that dive beneath the headlines into the human fears and fragile truths beneath technology, make sure to subscribe. Because the next story we tell might just change the way you see the world.